So for anyone just listening, like, explain the core game loop that exists, because I had the trailer playing on screen, but I do have a lot of people that just listen to this in their
Yeah,
car
of
and whatever
course.
as well.
So at its core, Blood Reaver is just a dark fantasy wave-based first-person shooter. If you've played anything like COD Zombies before, you'll understand the core mechanics of the game really, really quickly. But then what we think we're doing on top of that is bringing in a more sort of like Bioshock-style combat system where you've got abilities and weapons, and blending that all together with a Bloodborne art style. But now we're actually sort of moving into a more painterly aesthetic as well, which is drawing inspiration from something like Dishonored.
Okay. Because the first thing that I saw when I saw the art style, and I know that you mentioned people saw this as well, is like Doom and things like that.
Mm,
Because it does definitely have that, like, demons, blood, all that. It's got
yeah.
that, like, Doom sort of aesthetic to it. And I do remember you mentioning that this is one of the issues you had with people understanding what the game was.
Yeah. Yeah, so we recently put out a trailer through IGN and our publisher. We were in a little showcase with them, and a lot
Mm,
of the feedback we were getting is like, "Oh, this looks like a boomer shooter." And as somebody that made the trailers myself, I realize now, like, just from doing this more and more, curating the type of content that you end up showing to
mm,
really sort of show our wave-based shooter mechanics, which in reflection, I didn't really do enough of previously. But at,
mm.
at its core, Blood Reaver is a wave-based shooter. Yeah.
I think the one thing that did cause that issue is in the trailer, there's no, like, UI, so you don't see the
Yeah, I know.
wave in the corner.
Absolutely. Yeah, like definitely including interface related things in a trailer like that so people can really understand what that looks like is so important. And I'd only made one trailer before this, which is I imagine what you've seen. So yeah, just incremental learning, take every lesson you can and do better next time.
Mm-hmm. So when you say, like, inspiration from COD Zombies, that has a lot of different meanings now, because it has changed a
Mm,
lot since World at War. Like, World at War Black Ops, that was a very that's very much like the initial start of it, and that had a
yeah.
clear continuation of the style. World at War was a
Mm,
lot more simple, the maps were simpler, but when you went into Black Ops, you understood what was going on there.
yeah.
Then Black Ops 2, that had it had the same core mechanics, but it had a lot more, I guess, in depth in the map. Like, I
Mm,
remember back when Black Ops 2 Zombies first launched, and people were trying to work out, like, how does the bus work? How do we actually go between the different areas? What can we do in these different areas? How, like, there are these things that we seem like we can activate, but how does that actually work? And I don't even know what Zombies is like in the more recent games. I stopped
mm.
playing back then. But from what point in the sort of Zombies sort of thing is it pulling inspiration from?
So we've really sort of like looked at all the zombies releases in the past couple of years and seen a bit of a dissatisfaction in what some people in the community are really saying about what they don't like about the way that Treyarch's sort of been taking the franchise. And we've been really trying to hone in on the features that people really loved 5, 6, 7 years ago in something like Black Ops 3 and 4, and drawing the best stuff out of that to sort of extract that out and work that into our own systems. But at the same time, there definitely is some newer systems in the more later releases that we're picking certain pieces from, and then blending into our own stuff. Yeah, but like Black Ops 3 and 2, definitely where the sort of core inspiration comes from for the core gameplay.
Okay, okay, that's cool. Like, I do really like this. I always liked doing zombies. I never was someone who played it really extensively. I know there are people who, had spent hundreds or thousands of hours trying to, like, piece out, like, the individual parts of each individual map, like how
Mm,
these different things, like, fit together and where the perfect routes to take things are. From the experience I got to play of Blood Reaver, like, I only got to, like, the first 6 rounds, I think, something like that.
mhm.
Like, to be fair, like, it was a combination of two things. One, I'm terrible at FPS games. Two, I have no idea what was going on with the mouse settings on on that game.
Oh yeah,
It was a little bit. Whoever set it up was set it up perfectly for them.
yeah, yeah.
But even so, like, it was a really fun experience getting to play that game, because I haven't really touched that. As I said, I haven't really touched that since, like, Black Ops 2. So
Mm,
I saw the game, like, when I was walking around Avcon, I thought initially I was going to be like some sort of boomer shooter, because that's what it looked like from the movement, especially the movement, because that's
yeah.
one of the big differences between what you're doing and what, like, zombies is and things like that. the movement that you have is a lot more reminiscent of things like Doom. It's a lot faster.
Yeah.
You're not just a dude who's just like slowly walking around. Like you actually can just like zip around the map. So it gave me that feel first, but the second I sat down and I saw that round number, I was like, okay. And I saw like the little currency counter you have in the corner, like, okay, I know exactly what this is. I've done
Yeah,
this
yeah.
before.
People who have played similar games like COD Zombies seem to get it straight away, and
Mhm.
they love it. Like we had some people over the weekend of AvCon being like, "I love what you guys are doing with this. Like this does everything that the newer Call of Duty Zombies aren't really doing, and you're bringing back to those nostalgic features, and that's a big win for us to have somebody that's involved in that community say we're doing the right things.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm. So I understand like what the art style for the game is, but why this sort of art style? Like, why did you want to go for this like gothic, Doom, Dishonored, Bloodborne style look to it?
Well, I think for us, we sort of looked at what else is out there in the market. You got games like Killing Floor, Warhammer Vermintide, COD Zombies, of course, as
Mhm.
well, in that wave shooter sort of genre. And there wasn't really anything that had specifically drawn from like demonic dark fantasy. I think in the way that we're trying to do, they're almost semi-medieval fantasies to a certain degree,
Mhm.
with sort of tech in woven into that as well. So
Mhm.
we wanted to sort of differentiate from other games to really create a core universe that people could identify as unique and really get behind. I think is sort of the core reason there.
Mhm. Okay. Well, why why actually wanting why did you want to go and make a zombie style game in the first place? Because there's so many other kind, like, even just in the FPS genre. Like, I know you said that the modern zombies games don't really, or modern zombies modes don't really fill the void that people want from it. But I assume that you had a lot of experience playing that, and other members of the team probably had experience
Hmm.
playing with that growing up, and maybe I assume don't like what's going on with the modern games.
So this is where having my co-founder here would be amazing. Jackson,
Mm-mm.
he was the core inspiration
Okay.
for Blood Reaver at the crux of it, where he sort of came to me and was like, "Ewan, you're great at producing teams. I've got this amazing idea. I've identified this niche in the market for the COD Zombies audience. I've got a great idea. Let's try bring that together." So that was really him being a massive fan himself and saying, "You know what? There are problems that I believe us as a team can fix."
Mhm.
And then it just sort of snowballed from there, really, where
Mhm.
we started building the team and picking out the best people from each discipline and saying, we want you, and you're an amazing level designer, you're on the team now,
Mhm. Mhm.
sort of thing.
So, what did it look like when it first started? When it was just that like proof of concept?
Mm. Funnily, when we first started, there was a whole divergent version of the game where we were originally concepting, where it was all about Norse gods and
Okay.
mythology. And then there was like, I think, high tech semi fantasy elements in some sort of the level design. And we were going to set it in Scandinavian Europe. And
Okay.
after a few days of this, I sort of was like, I think we got a couple too many references.
Mhm.
And as a team, we sort of sat down and go, oh, let's pick
Mhm.
one of these, and then Demons sort of came out too. Yeah.
Okay.
So we went around with a lot of different ideas, and then sort of picked the best and found the ones that gelled most well together,
Mhm.
and then
Mhm.
cut the stuff that didn't feel like we had the breadth at the time to really investigate and do justice.